Hi everyone, welcome to NST Insight. My name is Nadia Azmi, your moderator for today. Now, by now, most of you have already probably heard of the Generational Endgame, or GEG, a proposed new policy by the Ministry of Health in Malaysia that will see smoking and vaping being banned for those born after the year 2007. So currently, the GEG is being reviewed by the Parliamentary Special Select Committee and is scheduled and expected to be tabled again in the upcoming Parliament session. However, the concept of GEG is not new, actually. The idea was first mooted in New Zealand, the world first, actually. However, unlike Malaysia, New Zealand's tobacco endgame only prohibits the selling, supply, and delivery of traditional cigarettes and not vape. In New Zealand, vaping products are regulated, unlike in Malaysia, and promoted as a harm reduction tool based on evidence that vape is a less harmful reduction tool and that it can be an effective tool for quitting smoking. In fact, globally, there have been multiple studies to show this, that vape is a less harmful alternative compared to cigarettes. And this will be our topic of discussion for today, understanding what is harm reduction and also its potential in reducing the smoking rates in Malaysia. But before that, let me first introduce to you our panelists. We have here Dr Arifin Fii, an addiction therapy practitioner and also president of Advanced Center for Addiction Treatment Advocacy, and as an association, he's working to reduce addiction-related harms for Malaysians by promoting evidence-based public health policies with human rights-based approaches through research and analysis.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Arifin. Thank you for being here. Next to Dr. Arifin, or we have on the line actually, all the way from New Zealand, we have Dr. Marewa Glover, Director of the Independent Centre of Research Excellence, Indigenous Sovereignty and Smoking, based in Auckland, New Zealand. The centre aims to reduce the harms associated with tobacco use among all Indigenous people globally. As a behavioral scientist, Dr. Glover has led and collaborated on many studies resulting in more than 100 scientific publications. And nice to have you join us, Dr. Marewa, all the way from New Zealand. And finally, next to Dr. Arifin, we have Mr. Khairil Azizi Khairuddin, a vape user who has switched from traditional smoking to vape. Welcome, Khairil.
Thank you.
All right, nice to have everyone here for NST Insight. Now let's start the conversation by understanding what is harmful reduction. There has been a lot of debate on the health impacts from the use of vape. There are claims that it is a less harmful alternative to cigarettes, and it is a form of tobacco harm reduction. Also, there are claims to counter this argument as well. So we want to know, is there any truth in these claims? What does tobacco harm reduction actually mean? Let me start with Dr. Marewa. Dr. Marewa, maybe you can tell us about the international studies that have been conducted on harm reduction, and maybe you can tell us about some case studies and data points that have been researched on. Dr. Marewa.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. So there are actually a lot of studies, so it's a bit difficult to sum them up, but I think the evidence is clear in the UK and in New Zealand and even Japan, where they don't have vaping nicotine, but they do have heated tobacco products, and also in Korea, where heated tobacco products took off. And we have seen an absolutely unprecedented rapid drop in smoking in these countries. And in New Zealand, since the vaping was introduced about 2015, I think, and we have seen a much faster reduction in smoking prevalence since the New Zealand Parliament passed the vaping regulations. That reduction in smoking prevalence is speeding up. It really has been quite spectacular. So I would point people to look at the UK, New Zealand, actually even smoking prevalence in the US, especially among youth, has just plummeted. And
The bill in New Zealand was passed very recently, if I'm not mistaken, in July of this year, actually, 2022. Is that right?
That may be when some of it took effect, but it was passed earlier. So we now have another draft bill going through, which I'm sure you're going to talk about later, that has the age ban coming in.
So the inclination towards vaping, the studies, it's for a period of how long actually, since the laws were passed in New Zealand and you've been able to see that many people are switching from smoking cigarettes to vaping. How long of a period has that been?
We have our latest statistics in New Zealand are for 19, 20, 21, and the faster or more rapid reduction in smoking, well, there's been a gradual decline going on for some time, but it becomes far more rapid since in 2019, 20 year, and even 2018 to 2019 year. And we're now awaiting the 2021-22 statistics. I'm pretty sure that it's going to continue to show that decline.
All right. Now, Dr. Arifin, we know in Malaysia, when the GEG was first introduced, we've received mixed reactions. How do you think the situation is like in Malaysia? Are people understanding what is harm reduction and the measures that need to be taken to get there?
Actually, harm reduction is not a very new concept in medicine, in treating addiction, for example, especially because it has been used in treating heroin addicts. They are switching from heroin to a less harmful product, is methadone. So tobacco harm reduction actually is actually part of current Malaysian strategy, but it is very limited to only nicotine replacement therapy like nicotine gums and everything. But the other form of nicotine delivery is not encouraged, and it's not like vaping, everything. It is not encouraged in Malaysia and not recommended in Malaysia, and even maybe prohibited in Malaysia. Maybe because the current information, the current perception of the people in Malaysia, they are not understanding the concept of harm reduction.
Okay.
And the concept of using these new nicotine delivery tools that proven can help the smoker to switch and have a better have a reduction of
the awareness is not there yet.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I mean, it's not the awareness, and also the information that is fed to them is not correct. It's all they are like it's frightening frightening things exposed to them.
That's why there's an argument on many sides. People are saying this, while other quarters are claiming this. We don't know exactly what is the most accurate point of view, actually, because we also have to base it on medical and scientific evidence as well, and the studies that have been conducted. Public Health England has maintained that vaping is 95% less harmful than cigarette smoking. Dr. Marewa, what is your view on this?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. What people need to understand is that it is the combustion process, the smoking of tobacco, that does most of the harm. The harm is from the carbon monoxide that is inhaled and the tar. These substances do not exist with the greatly risk-reduced alternatives to accessing nicotine. Sweden and Norway are other countries where you can see the very, very low smoking prevalence rates. In fact, among young women, they're down to below 1%. And they have the oral nicotine pouches, So oral nicotine pouches are probably on the lowest end, but all of the products that don't have that behavior of inhaling smoke are greatly risk reduced, 95% and below probably.
Do you agree that vaping is 95% less harmful than cigarette smoking?
I agree with that because there are many studies shown that, and in fact, in 2014, there is one group of researchers. They made an evaluation of the risk of the harm minimization of vape, especially, and few other reduced harm products. So the level of harm caused by vape is almost as equal as NRT. It is documented in one research back in 2014. And many research recently done also show that the risk, the effect of vaping is actually beneficial for smokers who switch.
Okay.
One study done by the American Heart Association, published in May this year, published in American Heart, published in the journal Circulation, which is an official journal of American Heart Association. They said that those who switch from smoke, those who use vape, the risk of cardiovascular disease is almost the same for the people who switch, for the people who vape. The risk is almost equal as people who are not taking vaping or smoking.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. All right, now we've heard from both of our doctors. Let's move on to Khairil, a user. Khairil, tell us about your journey on switching from the traditional cigarettes to vaping.
Okay, so my journey, I would say that it started, okay, my smoking journey started since my university days, right? That was like 14 to 15 years ago. That was quite some time. And then I consider myself as a heavy smoker as well, which for me, yeah, it's like one pack for 2 days or 3 days max. So for me, that's high enough already, right? And then cigarette is like a must-have thing for me because it's like after meal, even after sports or toilet breaks, right? And then I did try quitting so many times, but eventually I got back to to smoking again. So I tried cold turkey. I tried switching smoking to snacking.
Okay,
but
it didn't work.
Fail. Yeah, I failed. And then I eventually tried vape when I went out with a friend for a dinner, and then he brought vape together. So I tried that for the first time. And then for me, I felt it felt so good because one thing is because of the flavoring, it's totally different from cigarette. And another thing is that there is no smell, smoking smells lingering around after you vape. So for me, that's a very like a win for me as well, right?
But gratification-wise, is it fulfilling? I mean, as a smoker, as an avid smoker, how is it like switching to vape? Were you able to forget about your cigarettes?
Yeah.
Did you get the same, the outcome of it?
Yeah. So basically, right on that, at first it was not, but then when you take it like on daily basis, because after that I did purchase it, the vape on my own for my personal use, and then I basically, when I have the urge to smoke, I vape. So my urge to smoke went down from 2 hours to 4 to 5 hours per stick. So I think I replaced all the urge for smoking with vape.
Okay.
So I think I get the nicotine from the vape as well. So the satisfaction comes naturally after that.
Okay.
And then, again, my lifestyle also a little bit changed after that. It's like I no longer purchase a pack of cigarette. Instead of buying a pack of cigarette, I buy flavors instead, right?
Right.
And then I go out without the pack of cigarette, I bring vape device instead.
That's right.
Yeah.
But when you purchased your first vape, that was your objective, to start reducing your reliance on cigarettes, right? How immediately did that happen? Were you still smoking and vaping, in tandem in the beginning, or did it happen immediately once you started vaping? You were able to just forgo smoking cigarettes.
So vape was quite expensive back then. So for me, I did alternate. So I smoke and then I still vape. I vape and I still smoke. So I do alternately, and then eventually it comes naturally that I.
How long did it take until you were able to completely forget about smoking cigarettes?
It was quite a few years. I can't remember. Yeah.
It took a few years.
Yeah. So it's like, but then from one pack for 2 days, it become one pack for 5 days. So it's gradually, and then now it's like completely gone.
And right now you are able to completely put aside that urge to smoke cigarettes, even if you were to see your friends, light up a cigarette, it does not affect you at all.
The urge is there, but I have vape. So when I have the urge, then I just vape.
And
so
that works.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, that's good. Okay, Dr. Marewa, we know New Zealand has embarked on a smoke-free journey. The laws have been passed, it's been implemented and now enforced. Maybe can you tell us a little bit, when did it start? What do these laws entail, and what are the targets actually?
Okay, well, actually, New Zealand started on this path in 1945. So we've had education and bans of advertising that occurred in 1963. It's really been a very sort of incremental process over decades and a generation. And in 1990, New Zealand passed a comprehensive, was first in the world to pass a comprehensive Smoke-Free Environments Act. Since then, we've had numerous amendments to that in 1997, in 2003, and 2011. Every time increasing the bans to more and more areas, from inside to outside, and increasing the taxes, and increasing the stigmatizing campaigns to make people who smoke feel bad about themselves and bad about their behavior.
Did it work, Dr. Marewa? What was the reaction among the people in New Zealand?
It's been a very slow, gradual reduction in smoking prevalence over that long period of time. But I do want people to understand that New Zealand is pretty much smoke-free now. It depends where you live. It depends on what community you are in and what area. But most of New Zealand, it's very rare to see somebody smoking.
So you would say the targets are being achieved. New Zealand is on track to having a smoke-free generation, you would say?
Well, this latest law that is before us now, that's being pushed through government, as you know, it introduces what we call a sinking lid on the age of purchase. So every year, the age of purchase will increase, and at the moment, people who are 18 can buy tobacco, and then it will go up to 19, 20, and on until nobody will be able to buy cigarettes. The problem with that is that a younger person will just ask someone who's 1 year older and still able to buy for them. And you will end up with a situation where you have a 30-year-old asking a 31-year-old to buy cigarettes for them. It's really not very practical. And it's more about the government saying, look at this wonderful thing we've done, but we are going to see very serious negative consequences for people who break the law. And that's what I'm really concerned about.
Yeah, Dr. Arifin, based on Dr. Marewa's input and also your knowledge on the subject, what are your views on implementing harm reduction strategies in Malaysia? What can the government take reference from the framework that has been implemented in New Zealand?
Actually, the reduction in smoking prevalence in Malaysia is very slow. If you see the statistic, in 1971, the prevalence of male smokers was 41%, and it came up in 1996, where the prevalence was 49%. And then now, the latest figure is 44%. So the reduction is very slow with the policy that with the intervention.
It's reducing,
that,
but very slow.
Very slow. So and we have seen, we have heard from Dr. Marewa, and also evidence from the US, for example, and the UK, for example. They are a bit relaxed and in fact they are encouraging the use of vape as a tool for harm reduction. And they have seen a remarkable reduction in smoking prevalence. And actually, our tobacco control measures or policy is comparatively new if you compare to New Zealand, because our first tobacco control policy was introduced in 2004. Whereas New Zealand, I think they have started in 1990. So, and they have shown recently, for the past 10 years, they have shown a remarkable reduction in smoking prevalence, and they are using vape. And in my opinion, Malaysia should learn from what New Zealand and countries like the UK, what they have done in bringing down the prevalence of smoking. Is my opinion, because it is stepwise, and it will take a long time to see the result.
All these measures that we have been taking before this GEG came into play, do you think the rakyat have been receptive, such as laws on no smoking in dining areas or in F&B restaurants?
Actually,
what were the problems?
Actually, the compliance of the rakyat to many measures is very low. You know, for example, the tak nak policy, the tak nak policy, if you remember, it was started in 2004, and even the many millions or billions maybe has been spent for this campaign. Does not really prove to be effective. You see, in 2011, the prevalence of smokers in Malaysia was 23.2%, something like that. But in 2019, the prevalence was just reduced by 1.8% for the period of 9 years. So, and many other measures have been done in Malaysia, like smoking in the public, smoking in the closed area, smoking in the eating place, smoking in the air-conditioned place, and everything. Not many. If you walk around, if you walk in the shopping centres, for example, even though it is banned in Malaysia, you can still see people smoking in the toilet. You can see people smoking on the stairs, and everything. So, the compliance of Malaysian is very poor for these measures. So we need to think of a better, a more comprehensive, and a well-planned policy, and we can make, for example, New Zealand, for example, UK as the model for this. Is my take on this. Yeah.
So the proposed GEG is currently being reviewed by the Parliamentary Special Select Committee. I want to go down the line with our panelists. We want to know your opinion on how you think the Malaysian government should approach with this GEG implementation. Maybe Dr. Arifin, if I can go back to you again.
Yeah.
How do you think, what kind of strategies should we see in place
Yeah,
before it starts?
I spoke just now about how inefficient the current policy. I mean how the current policy did not meet the target, and actually GEG for me is a very great leap from the tobacco control strategy, because if you know that there are tobacco control, and then FCTC moved to tobacco end game. There are different. They are different thing altogether. It's tobacco control and tobacco end game. So Malaysia is jumping a very great jump from the inefficiency of tobacco control so far in Malaysia, and great jump to the to generational end game, which is actually it was first proposed in around 2009 by researchers from Yale and researchers from Singapore. So if you read the paper, it looks like it's very easy and very feasible. But after reviewing, I mean, if you read the reviews, for me it is a very difficult, very complex, very delicate game, very delicate policy, because it is very demanding. For example, very demanding. I mean, it demands cooperation from all sides of people, all sides of the groups in the society. It demands a great enforcement. It demands a great commitment. It demands a great compliance, which is in Malaysia, I think, is very still lacking for now. So this generation endgame is like is a prohibition-like policy, which will, for me, for the unprepared country like us, with our wide socio-economic disparity and everything. So this prohibition-like policy, the history tells us that this type of policy for an unprepared country will invite, and this country will be a very fertile breeding ground, for all many illegal activities like illicit trade, like crime.
Yep.
It happens in the US before when they prohibit alcohol, and that is what we have to think. So what I suggest is that we rethink, we revise, and see what is the policy that best suit Malaysia and can bring a much bigger result and much better result.
Yeah.
Asthmatic, yeah.
All right, Khairil, both our doctors have mentioned about the legal implications or consequences that we must consider when implementing the GEG. What are your thoughts on the GEG being enforced in Malaysia? What are your other friends, your smoker friends on the ground? What are they saying about this? Yeah, can you share with us?
So I think in my very own opinion, right, this GEG won't be effective. One thing is because the current GEG, they equate vape and cigarette together. So for me, it is not the same. It is not the same at all, and it is very inaccurate. Sorry. So so by doing that, by putting these two things, cigarette and vape, together in the same category, it will send a wrong message to any smokers who wants to quit vaping, who wants to quit smoking, right? So if they consider changing to vape to quit smoking, they will get a very wrong message about this current GEG.
Now, Khairil, you have transitioned from smoking cigarettes to vaping, and we have you in the studio. But I think our audience would also like to know whether, among your peers, have you seen many similar cases happening as well? Have a lot of your friends also done the same, converted from being a cigarette smoker to a vapor?
Yep. So many of my friends has done the same as well. Their journey is almost the same as me. They started off with smoking many packs, maybe 1 pack a day, and then they slowly moving into vaping, and eventually they stop. So the journey is the same when they start vaping.
And on the GEG, most of them feel the same
Yeah.
about this new policy. Dr. Marewa, what are your thoughts based on the inputs from Dr. Arifin and also Khairil? What can Malaysia, or what should Malaysia do as we are on this road that we're embarking on to put in place the generational endgame?
So those were some excellent and very accurate points. I think in terms of thinking about harm reduction, the solution that you put in place shouldn't cause other harms. So a harm reduction approach is about helping people to choose a substitute behavior, reduce their risk of harm. And vaping does that for people. So it's a much easier way to bring about the social change that is going to come about with the reduction of smoking almost to, it's gone levels. Prohibition, and these policies are prohibition by stealth. Prohibition comes with increased black market activity. In New Zealand, we have seen a huge rise in robberies of stores for tobacco due to the very high price, but now also because of our vaping regulation, and we are lucky we have that, but we're seeing a rise in robberies of vape stores as well, because the law made it sort of slightly harder to access vaping products and also increase the cost. Now, if you then bring in this age ban, I'm concerned that young people will have to go to the black market to access either cigarettes or vaping products, and that puts them at a risk of other sorts of harms, injury, and also we have a lot of young people doing these robberies from like 13 years old and younger, ram raiding stores and stealing. So these robberies have become almost the largest pathway into prison for our young people. When you have a society with very diverse and inequitable distribution of wealth, and you have marginalized groups, then this is just going to increase the disadvantage and marginalization of those groups. So I would have that concern for you, as has been mentioned. And we are definitely seeing it here as well. Our European women are already down to below 5%. The richer 2/5 of our society are already down to 5%. Smoking is concentrated among the poorest people and among the most disadvantaged and marginalized. They will be most hurt by this, and there are many harms. If you ban vaping, and well, then you could have situations where people are buying not so safe products on the black market, and we saw what happened in the USA with that, around the vapes where they were vaping with cannabis e-liquids, and the black market tarnished them and they tainted them and some people died. Well, that hasn't happened with vaping anywhere, but we wouldn't want it to happen. If you want to reduce smoking, allow people access to this greatly risk-reduced alternative, It makes it so easy. It is the compassionate way. It is the harm reduction way. Do not cause more harm in other areas. That's harm reduction.
Right. I think there are many safeguards and also measures that must exist to address all of these issues before laws are passed and implemented in the country. Thank you, Dr. Marewa. Thank you, Dr. Arifin, and also to Khairil for your thoughts and insights. I think a lot of good insights discussed on NST Insight in this session. I think we can all agree that there is that one common goal where we want to prioritize the nation's health in whatever way is possible and in the most realistic methods, that is. So with that, to everyone, thank you for watching NST Insight.